Yeah, I always say like more connection, less performance. In business, I always say go for meaning instead of marketing. I really think that businesses that focus on marketing usually don't really break through. Businesses that focus on meaning are the ones that change the world. We're just trying to create more meaning in people's lives. And if we do that, people will buy it or whatever we're doing.
Yeah.
Part of being a creator is like, how do you market your story in some ways? And how do you connect with people in an authentic way? And so I think is to remind people that, really like try to kind of bring it back to like, what's the most meaningful to you?
Yeah.
Because if you're really focusing on what you really care about, then the right people will probably care about that as well. But if you're trying to like predict what other people care about, that's when you get yourself into trouble.
We live in a complex and ever-changing world, a place that is maybe harder than ever to successfully navigate. The answer is surely to be brave, but it's also to seek and be open to guidance. Mentors are the one consistent through line in the lives of all accomplished people, myself included. So welcome to Mentor Buffet, a feast for those, like me, curious about who helped the most successful among us succeed. Blake Mycoskie is the founder of TOMS Shoes. This episode is so full of advice from his dad, from Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx, from his therapist, Dr. Dan, and more. We talk about what it means to live a meaningful life and what purpose-driven business has looked like for him. Blake shares what it means for him to be enough and what his healing journey has looked like since he's come out of the lows of depression. He's so honest. There's something here for you. Here's my conversation with Blake Mycoskie.
It was actually the first time I ever interviewed someone. I've been interviewed a bunch with TOMS Shoes, and I was asked to interview Ted Turner at the United Nations. And Ted Turner was the founder of the CNN. He's the youngest person to ever start a cable television network and the first news network. And, billionaire, very successful, won the America's Cup in sailing, like very accomplished, big personality. He was married to Jane Fonda and several other people. And so anyway, so Ted Turner, I'm getting ready to go on stage. And he looks at me, he goes, Blake, I can tell that you're going to climb the mountain. I was like, okay. And like TOMS was starting to take off. So people knew about TOMS. And he said, you're going to climb the mountain. And at the top of the mountain, there's a chest. And it's really beautiful. And you're going to climb that mountain. You're going to get to the top of the mountain. You're going to look in the chest. And you're going to see that the chest is empty. I've done it. I've climbed the mountain. The chest is empty. And even though that I just told you what you're going to find, you still need to go climb the mountain yourself. And then we walked on stage. And it was like the whole interview, I was like thinking about the mountain, the chest. And I think in some ways that was quite prophetic because that's what happened in my life with, building TOMS. I started TOMS Shoes in 2006. And in 8 years, we were the fastest growing shoe company in the world. We built it to almost $1 billion in revenue. We gave 100 million children shoes. And when I sold the company, I thought I was going to be happy. And the exact opposite happened. Like that's when I started to get depressed for the first time. That's when I started to isolate. And so that little tidbit he told me, even though he told me that, I still had to learn that lesson.
It's so interesting having like a foreshadowed wisdom in your head and still understanding you have to live it yourself. And also probably quite valuable when you get there and have that moment to know that you weren't the only one.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because Olympians feel the same thing. And until recently, no one prepared you for it, right?
Yes.
And so you got there and you were like, you assumed you were the only one experiencing this odd dip.
Yes.
Right? And now I think that people know about these things. Even though it's hard to go through these things, at least you're not alone. And going back to that moment that you got that wisdom right before going on stage, can we just talk for a second about what it's like in the world to receive wisdom that you have to experience for yourself? Because people, you hear it all the time.
Yeah.
Like you graduate college or you finish college sports and everyone's like, it's going to be a transition or like you're going to go through struggle or or you're gonna have a breakup, and yet you still have to live it. And so I just wanted to like zoom out and talk a little bit about what it feels like to get a piece of wisdom that you know may inevitably be true for you, but you still are gonna keep living the journey with that in mind.
I think it's like they say when the student is ready, the teacher shows up, right? And I think that sometimes you're just not ready for the wisdom. And so it might go in the back of your head, and maybe someday it kind of, at one point I remembered that, it wasn't like I was thinking about that for 15 years. But then when I realized like, oh man, like I did climb the mountain, it was empty, and yet I still put too much hope in it. It wasn't going to be empty, And so sometimes I think it's like it's good to pick up these pieces of wisdom along the way, and sometimes you're ready for them and sometimes you're just not.
Well, also, isn't it true that the wisdom was not meant to be a red light?
No. If anything, he did it with a smirk, like enjoy the ride, Blake. Like I have this tattoo right here. It says enjoy the ride. And I have a bunch of tattoos with little sayings on them. But yeah, it's like that's just part of the human journey. Like I actually think about like the depression that I went through, which was about 7 years long, which is a very long time. I mean, I'm 49 now. So, and only 2 years of it was, dangerous. So 5 years kind of mild depression. And then it got so bad that I almost took my life. Like it was really intense. And I think about that now. I look back on it and I'm thankful for it in a weird way. Like I'm actually like, oh, wow, like that had to happen. It almost is like an answer to prayer of like, if I wanted to be able to have another sense of purpose in my life and I wanted to heal the things that would really give me actual peace, not fabricated peace through external, validation and whatnot, I actually had to go through that. I hope I never go through it again. And God, if you're listening, I don't want to go through it again. I learned the lesson, hopefully. But sometimes like with these ideas, these lessons that we're looking for is they're not always easy. Like sometimes they're really fucking hard. And that's because they're meant to do that, to drive you to go inward, to find, the answers and the thing that you need to learn. And so, I'm sure that there's a lot of mentors that you've had, and I know there's some that I'm thinking of that I've had that, aren't necessarily like, hugs and cuddles.
Yeah. And they're not preventing you from falling down either.
Yeah.
And you were saying these are things I had to learn. And it really puts an underline on the word learn, of like, learn actually doesn't just mean someone tells you a piece of information and then you know it. Like that can happen with facts.
Yeah.
But it seems like this kind of learning is growth, right? And it's true confidence and knowing how to navigate or how to see your orientation with yourself and with the world. And it seems like no one could have told you what to do about the empty chest, just that you will get there and then you will have to find your way with support and love, of course. But it's really that you don't want to avoid the journey, because the journey is the growth that makes your human experience. And it's encouraging because it's saying like we don't want to avoid these hard moments. We just want to be not alone when we get there.
Yes.
And so tell me, I mean, that's a long time to be like, my post-Olympic depression was not as long as yours.
Yeah.
That's a long time to wrestle with something that difficult.
Yeah. I mean, thankfully it wasn't persistent all year. Usually I would have these depressive episodes in holiday time, So like, and I was also living in Jackson Hole because I had a dream of being snowboarding every day. So when I sold my company, I moved to Jackson. And it gets cold and dark early in Jackson. So I had that, the isolation. And so really I was experiencing it pretty much every winter for about 5 years. And then, I think my soul said, no, we got to turn up the volume here. You haven't learned the lesson yet. And so then it got really, really hard. And it brings me back to like one of the things that, in terms of advice, right? In terms of like, what are some of I was thinking about the moments before coming on the show that really like, okay, that changed my life, that conversation, right? And I had a conversation with my dad, and it actually came from, I'll back up for a second. So I was flying home for Thanksgiving, And I was reading Esquire magazine, and on the back of Esquire magazine, they used to have this thing where they'd have a celebrity and they'd ask them like popcorn questions, like 20 questions, da 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 da. And then one of them was always like, the best advice you've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know who it was, but it was a male actor. And he said, the best advice I ever got was don't wait until your parents are really old to interview them about their life. Because if you do it early in life, you can learn from their mistakes and the things, and then you can apply them to your life. Mm-hmm. So you have the wisdom of your mom or dad before you can when you can actually do something about it. Mm-hmm. So I was like 32. TOMS was really starting to take off. And, I don't know how old my dad was then, but, he's probably 50 something. And all the kids are out of the house. And so I said, Dad, I want to interview you. My dad and I have a great relationship, but, at that point, I don't think we were as vulnerable as we are now. Mm-hmm. And so after Thanksgiving, we went down to this little pool house and I said, Dad, and I interviewed him with everything about his life. And it was so fun. And he was open and it was great. And all these things, beautiful. At the end of the interview, I said, okay, last question. I said, do you have any regrets? Now, my dad was an orthopedic surgeon, he's been married to my mom now for 57 years, like 3 amazing kids. Like he's lived a really great life and at that time he was, seemed very happy. And he paused, he looked at me, he goes, I have one regret. And I was like, oh gosh, what is this? And he was quite serious. And he said, when I was in high school and college and in medical school, I had a lot of guy friends. And we did trips and played golf and all these things. And then, after residency, I started my practice, got married to your mom, had you. And for the last, 20 plus years, my whole life has been my work and my family. And I'm really proud of my work and my family. Mm-hmm. But I've lost touch with all my guy friends, or most of them. And now you guys are out of the house and I'm getting closer to retirement. And I don't get invited on the golf trips. I don't get the opportunity to, hang out with guys the way I see other male friends of mine. Mm-hmm. And I'm lonely and it scares me. And I was like, wow. And I could see my dad, like the pain of this, to share this. And so the next day I got on the plane, fly home, and I emailed my 9 best guy friends. Wow. And I shared the story with them. And I said, guys, we cannot let this happen to us. Like we were all starting off in our careers in different places. And I said, every year we're going to go on an adventure together. And I'm going to propose, the first one is my parents have a condo in Colorado. Let's go on a fly fishing trip, camping, and we can spend a couple of days at their condo. And so the 9 guys came. And then the next year was, let's all go down to Belize and fish there. Fishing was the big thing at first, and then it became surfing. And we've been doing it now for 19 years. Mm-hmm. It has a name. It's called the Rugged Adventure Club. There's 14 members. And we text every day. So beyond the one trip a year, we literally, that is our social media. We are texting everything from advice about parenting to advice in relationships to one of my parents is getting old, we are there for each other like nothing else. Mm-hmm. And literally that piece of advice from my dad and that investment in these trips every single year, no matter what, we do not miss it. It saved my life. It really did. Yeah. When I was suicidal, when I was not being able to think straight, they would just show up at my house in Marin. They helped me get to a treatment facility to get off all the pharmaceuticals I was on. They helped me rethink, different personal decisions in my life that I needed to change to feel better. And so for anyone, listening that might relate to, investing in friendships, real friendships, the kind that you can, is the best investment you can make, especially for men. I think, and the time to do it is in your 20s and in your early 30s, because you might don't think you need it then, but you're going to need it when you turn 40 and you're going to need it when you turn 50. That's right. And so invest in them now.
Yeah. And it's such a unique type of not loneliness that's different from what family gives you, that's different from what your relationship or some other type of work partnership might give you, right? It's a very special kind of support. Yeah. It's chosen, it's nurtured, it doesn't need anything from you, right?
No, yeah. I mean, that's one of the things that, especially after you have success and financial success, you a lot of your new people come into your life and you don't really know, what do they need from me? What do they want? These guys have been with me for 20 years, and that's why I say it's in your 20s, I did that when I was 31. Like that's the time to really like make this a priority. Because if you don't do it then, you're sure not going to do it when you're older. And I think that's what my dad was saying. It's like, if I just had prioritized this, I mean, going on one trip a year and texting is not that big of a commitment, but it has made such a difference in all of our lives because over years, it's just gotten more and more deep and more meaningful. And so, so I think that's, my dad is definitely a mentor to me on many ways, but that conversation was the one that I will always remember.
That's beautiful. That's really, really beautiful. And I think especially during those 20s and 30s, it can be really hard to like both avoid the energy of and also avoid the temptation of everything being transactional because you're in such a building time of your life.
Sure.
That a lot of the focus is on like climbing and building and developing. And so just having a goalless commitment to people, and like a abundant feeling must be so powerful, especially when you're so ambitious.
Yes. That kind of segues into another piece of advice. On my healing journey, I went to India and I worked specifically with this great teacher, Krishnaji. And Krishnaji, one of the things he says is that the cause of all suffering is obsessive, self-centric thinking. And I'll say it again. The cause of all suffering is obsessive, self-centric thinking. Now, that's not selfishness and that's not narcissism. That's what people think initially. It's actually more nuanced than that. And this is where it comes up when you're talking about this building mode. Is that, and I'll use the frame of when I was depressed. And I think a lot of people, if you're depressed or anxious or you're not feeling good, then what happens is you don't want to feel that way, right? And so what you do is you start thinking all day, every day about feeling better. So you're only thinking about yourself. You're only thinking like, what can I do to not be depressed? What can I do for my self-care? This, right? And what he believes and they teach is that, when you're constantly thinking of yourself, your field of awareness is so narrowed. And so much of the beauty of the moment is in thinking about others. And so that was a big thing for me is when I heard that, I was like, okay, I've spent so much time because I was in pain thinking about how do I get out of this pain.
Yeah.
But if I just start thinking about how I can serve others and how I can be a better friend, how can I help one of my other friends with their businesses, how I can, launch my podcast to help other people with their suffering. Like these were the things. And that had a huge impact on my healing journey as well.
Yeah, because it's connectedness, right?
Yeah.
And it's purpose and meaning outside of yourself. And sometimes the yourself is lying and is ill too, right? Like your brain, like when you're in the state that you were in, that I was in, it's not well, right? And so it's not even, it feels like it's almost like a puddle that you come across on a sidewalk that like doesn't get fresh water and it's like it rots by itself, right? And I remember Dr. Arpaia during my healing similarly, I didn't understand because I was like, I'm so unwell. And he was like, we need to like try to get you to keep doing these like as much as you can, like speaking to children, like doing these appearances when you can, or thinking about your family. And it really was perplexing to me at the time because I was like, I'm not able to be there for anyone else. And he kept pushing me to have that contact. And I think it was about staying connected to like, obviously living for something greater than yourself for one thing. Because when it gets really dark, sometimes you will not do it for yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally.
Like you will only do it for your dad or your
kids.
or your kids, I'm sure. And so I think that is really powerful. And it's really not something that we might mandate for ourselves so easily because you don't think that that's what is going to help you.
Yeah.
I guess thank God to those mentors that pushed us toward that and knew that it wasn't just a virtue, it was actually a path.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's not, that's a great point. So we always think about service and helping others is like a virtuous thing.
Right.
But actually it is in service of yourself.
Yeah.
Like, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Like I even saw that with TOMS shoes. Like, we gave 100 million children shoes, traveled all over the world. Like everyone celebrated like what great work we were doing. But I was always the first one to say, but like we get more than we give in some ways. Like we get so much joy by going on these trips. We get so much feeling of connection with these communities that we're in. And so So service really is something, and it really grounds you in that connection, which is so important for our mental and well-being.
Yeah, because you're not on your own little ladder. You're like literally have no choice. You're almost like stuck with other people, which can feel good. Like when
Yeah.
you're like, well, I got no choice but to be, I don't know. I think about like a field trip or something where it's like, well, I'm connected to these other people. Like I'm just in this group. Today, I want to share with you about my new favorite Merrell shoe, the Hut Moc 2 Slide Cozy, which are my go-to for fall and winter. I love these shoes especially for walking my dog Bernini because they're warm, they have grip on the bottom, and I can slide into them really quickly and then run out the door as I chase her down the street, which often happens. They're warm and you can wear them with socks, but you don't have to because they have cozy inside them. And my favorite thing to wear them with are sweatpants. These shoes are also good for the grocery store, getting your mail, and even wearing inside sometimes. I recommend getting a pair for your partner though, because they're probably gonna steal yours. For over 40 years, Merrell has been a global leader in hike. For a limited time, we're partnering with Merrell to give you an exclusive offer of 25% off your first purchase using code MentorBuffet25 when you check out on Merrell.com.
A big part of my healing came from, I had this great therapist, kind of a similar story to you, and I was reading your book and you're talking about going through all these different therapists and nothing was working. And then you found Dr. Arpaia.
Yeah.
And I had a similar thing. I went through countless therapists, places, and then I found this guy, Dr. Dan. And one of the things that Dr. Dan, really saw in me, which, no one else had really seen and helped me see, was that under the depression, under the anxiety, was this core wound. And I didn't even know what a core wound was. And he explained that, my core wound and he helped me realize this. It wasn't him telling me. It actually came out in my own voice in a session, was that I never felt that I was enough. And that seemed crazy to me, like on the first thing, because I'm like, hold on, I've like had all these accomplishments. I got this family, I have good friends. But when I really dove down in it, all of these things that I had done in my life, while some of them were virtuous, they were all in an attempt to feel that I was enough, because some part of me in my subconscious and my inner child, I didn't feel that I was enough. And once we started healing that, and we did it through this like very long mantra-based 40-day practice, which, I'll share that in a second, because I also think it's something that is so powerful, how you can retrain your mind.
Yeah.
But so once we recognized that was it, and it was very clear that all my striving, all my pressure, all this, kind of insecurity that I had about myself was that I never felt that I was enough. He had me do this 40-day practice, which really could be applied to many limiting beliefs. But he told me for 40 days, every morning for 20 minutes and every evening for 20 minutes, I was to set my timer and basically close my eyes and do something really simple. And I'd be, I am enough. I've always been enough. I am enough. I've always been enough. Now, I don't know if you've done a mantra-based practice, but 20 minutes is a long time.
That's a long time.
Right? And to say the same thing, and at first I hated it. The first week went by and I was like, fuck Dr. Dan. Like, this is just crazy. How is it? How am I going to feel better? Like, second week, kind of the same thing. It wasn't until like the fourth week that I started enjoying it. Like, and 20 minutes felt like 2 minutes. And then by like day 29, day 30, it was really incredible how much more lightness I felt in my body. And when someone would say something that wasn't nice to me or a piece of criticisms, it would just kind of like roll right off my back. And I really think what happened during that time was I literally reprogrammed some of my neural pathways.
Right, because our thoughts are habits too, right?
Yeah.
And
you talk about that in your book, right? You get to take action first.
Yeah, then thoughts, then feelings.
Yeah.
It's so wild because Dr. Pei made me do a similar thing, but writing, and I hated it. I have a notebook where I had to write like each and every day I'm healing in every way. And like, it's like over and over and over again. And you feel crazy because you're just like, this is, I felt like Matilda or something writing on a chalkboard, and had another like kind of more sports therapist team also have me do something similar, but out loud for some other limiting thoughts I was having, I guess, that were actually like translating into how confidently I was carrying myself in certain situations. It was a whole thing.
Yeah.
It was so cool because it did work. it did work.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it works.
It's crazy. And it seems so simple. Sometimes people come to me now and, they're like, okay, well, like, what's the thing? Like, what did it work?
Yeah.
And they want some like, oh, I got my brain stimulated by this thing. Or I, went on this crazy psychedelic journey in ayahuasca or whatever. But sometimes it's really these simple things to reprogram because our thoughts are so powerful.
Doesn't it scare you a little though that we're around so many new words all the time and that those could be so impactful?
Yeah.
Like if we hear the same thing over and over again, what's to stop that from becoming a new reprogramming in our minds?
Well, I mean, that's why another great piece of advice I got from Tony Robbins. And Tony told me, he said, Blake, the most important thing that's going to determine the future of your life are the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Yeah, wow. What they say.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the whole point. Like if you choose the right 5 people, because they're the ones who are inputting all this thought, all the words that become the thoughts or and then the feelings. And so it's so important, it's so powerful. I'm so grateful for that healing from Dr. Dan, and how it ties back to this idea of service. Actually goes back to India. And after I was with Krishna Ji and I was there for a couple weeks in the ashram, I had the most beautiful download, and it was very similar to when I had the idea for TOMS shoes. But I was there, and I think his teaching around not having obsessive self-centric thinking led me to feel like, oh my gosh, like there's a lot of people that don't feel enough. Like our whole culture, I mean, with social media and comparativeness and all these things are leading us to constantly think, are we measuring up? Are we smart enough, pretty enough, rich enough, whatever? And our culture almost like is incentivized for us not to feel enough. So we buy more things. I mean, it's literally built that way. And when I was sitting there at the ashram, I said to myself, I mean, it was so cool. It was like, okay, like you have started to heal this and you're feeling so much more peace. Like you've got to go home and help others heal this too. And I didn't know what I was going to do. But I literally left India and I had a purpose again, like for the first time since TOMS. And I was like, I am going to do something, start a nonprofit, whatever. And it was so funny. I had dinner the first night I was back with one of my best friends who's a really great designer and we worked at TOMS for a while. And I was telling him, and it was actually his idea. He's like, you should do a bracelet. And I was like, a bracelet? Why a bracelet? And he's like, well, you've always worn bracelets. I've always had these different types of bracelets from all over the world for my travels. And he said, I think you yourself need a daily reminder. You need something you can look at because, and so here you have this thing, you look at it every day. And also, I think this is the message that you want to share. So give out these bracelets to people, give people this daily reminder. And I loved it. And so I went back to India and we got these bracelets handmade in India and they're really beautiful. And we came up with this idea that, we would give an opportunity for someone to wear the bracelet and then to give it to someone else. And so I have one for you. This is yours. You're one of the very first people.
Oh my goodness. And these are, oh wow. So there are 2.
Yeah, so there's one for you and then one to give to someone else.
I love the color green. I told you this, but I do love it.
Well, green is the mental health awareness color, so that's why we chose green.
And it's the calmingest color, right?
Is so calming.
I guess that's why
it is.
Yeah,
that's why I chose it.
And then what's the message?
Oh, yeah. Let me see. Can I have it back? Or just the message?
Yes, I'll give the whole thing back.
Give the box. Well, we actually have a ritual, so I'm just going to do the full ritual. So if you'll put your palms up, please. Both palms out, and I will. I hope I'm not.
I was like, I don't want to be wearing other things. Oh.
Okay, so I tied it on. For anyone who's listening, you now have the enough bracelet on.
You.
So the second part of the ritual is there's a poem that comes with it. And we realize that to give the bracelet to someone, some people might not have the right words. So we have this amazing poet named NQ. He's a good friend of mine. I asked him to write a poem that we always share with the person when we give it to them. So here we go. Alexi, I see you, the you behind the you, not for anything you've done or anything you're gonna do. I don't stop to say it enough, but I believe in you. And if you could see yourself from my view, you'd believe it too. That's why I'm giving you the gift that I'm receiving too. A message to remind you when you're lost or feeling blue. A mantra to repeat when times are tough. Because no matter who we are always enough. It's a silent prayer I'm sending for the world's mental health. I wear the symbol for myself and now as a bond to someone else. It's a blessing and a gentle push to never give up, because no matter who you are enough.
Thank you. You really mean that.
I do.
Yeah, you really mean it. That's like, I think not everybody knows what it feels like to really mean that. I just went out and I gave a TED Talk and it was lovely and fun, but I felt like a few of the people that were there wanted to speak to be heard and not like help people. And I felt like I could see the people that like were not like, it was like consumed with like, does my makeup okay? Did I stutter? Because this is their moment to like just like coin a new phrase or like whatever, you know, like these are what these talks can do is like really launch you in some way. I was like, I guess I should have like expected that feeling. And I had just come from like this hunting trip in Oregon where I was like very in touch with nature and just like with a couple guys and very like awake and honest, because you have to be in these circumstances. Sure. And it was just like, it kind of sucked because it was like, oh man, not everyone like is here. Yeah. You know? And like that was so like you are very here, and it's really awesome because you have a big audience and platform and an ability to create like a magnanimous wave with what you're doing, and that it's like really coming from a real place. Like obviously what you've been through is like, so, I mean, sometimes when I meet people who like have been suicidal, I'm like, it's like this special bond because it's like, you can't really fathom what it feels like if you really haven't felt it. Yeah. You can appreciate that. But it's a real like, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's like what alcoholics feel with each other. But there's something about it where you're like, it's like a very intense thing. And it's weird to be like, yeah, I don't feel that anymore. Like, I'm not going to kill myself anymore, you know? But then you still get these like passing thoughts because they're never going to go away completely.
No, I'm always in, I say my depression, I'll always be in recovery.
Yeah, it's always, and so, yeah, it was just, that was really powerful. And like, I'm just so like encouraged by the world because I haven't really met that many people like you. Like I know successful people in like a lot of ways, but like you actually like fit into this category of like people, entrepreneurial successes that are able to maybe choose what they're doing next and are choosing to hopefully do good or other cool things. And you just never know like why they're doing it, right? Yeah. And so that the why is so real is like, that was like a really awesome moment for me to feel that. So thank you for sharing that with me. And like, I'm just so glad that you're real, you know?
Thank you.
Yeah, I really mean that. It's
I feel wow. That. I feel that. That was, you know, I've tried to memorize the poem. I almost did.
Yeah, you
and
did.
I got pretty close.
Yeah.
I'm not a poet, so it's hard to memorize sometimes, but it's to really get to connect with someone. Yeah. And someone who I know has had moments of the same, you know, feeling is like such a gift because it's healing for me too. You know, it's like really every time that I feel that I get to, and this is new and we're just starting, you know, so it's like, but that was really special for me as well to see you feel it. You know?
I felt it. I really did. I really felt it. I was like, oh man, this guy doesn't have to do this. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like you really don't have to like take that time and give that. You could have like, so it's cool. It's really cool. It's
interesting because this is all learning, right? And so someone asked me the other day, is, you know, like, well, what do you want to happen with this? Like, how much money do you want to raise for mental health or this or that? And I was like, I honestly just want people to have some of the interactions that I've had already where they really get to have what we just had.
Well, I think that was a really, that really was an unlock of like, the knowing that one person and maybe it's that person has some meaning in your life, even if you don't know them that well, right? Like I don't know you terribly well, but it meant something because of like what space, where you've been and what, do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, and so it is a really powerful thing to have the gift and for people.
And now you get to give it to the next person.
And it needs to be a very thoughtful one where like I can really hopefully actually help someone where I can uniquely have that message be resonant, and so I'll be very thoughtful about it.
Thank you. And I think the thing is like just even seeing it on your wrist,
I know it's cute.
is like Well, it's like, but that person that wears it will then also, when they're having a hard day or something, they'll know that they have that bond to you.
That's right.
So it's like that. It's that reminder that you referenced earlier in the show of that, how important it is to not feel alone.
Yeah. And maybe what not feeling alone really is having someone there for one of your worst fears, right? Because this is a worst fear.
Yeah, for sure.
Territory, right?
Totally.
And even if you don't know it yet, it will be a worst fear when it occurs. Like if I think about Ted giving you the advice and then you being on the mountain, right?
Totally, yeah.
That's the worst fear, right?
We're now telling you, yeah.
And so it's that like, if your worst fear occurs, which it might, or, that you're not alone. Yeah. And it's like a really cool way to be able to actually live the time between whether it occurs or not. Because sometimes it's not going to, your worst fear will never happen.
Why do we buy insurance? Why do we have a life jacket?
Yes, exactly.
All these things we do just in case. This is kind of a little bit of an insulation. Like a lot of the people that I've started to give the Enough bracelet to never had any mental health challenges. And they wear it. It's like, oh, I wear it, as an honor of my mom, who always makes me feel enough. So it's like just a positive thing for them. Or I wear it to support mental health and friends of mine that have struggled. But it is kind of like you said, it's kind of like you might never come to that crisis, but it's always nice to have the preparation ahead of time.
Yeah,
and to know that you have someone in your corner. I think that's the biggest thing. It's like that bond with two people. To know it's So thank you. That was really beautiful.
Yeah. Awesome. I'll be thinking about it for a long time too, because it's a special way to deliver the message, and the connection is very powerful. And I won't even know how powerful it is until I need to call you one day and be like, I need to, I'm like, it's happening.
Well, it helped. I think it's like just even the room changed, like the vibration. More connection, less performance. That's something that I always really, really try to focus on and then like in business, I always say, go for meaning instead of marketing. Like I really think that businesses that focus on marketing usually don't really break through. Businesses that focus on meaning are the ones that change the world. Yeah. And so I always say is like we're just trying to create more meaning in people's lives. And if we do that, people will buy it or whatever we're doing. Try to kind of bring it back to like what's the most meaningful to you. Because if you're really focusing on what you really care about, then the right people will probably care about that as well. But if you're trying to like predict what other people care about, that's when you get yourself into trouble.
That's a really good advice, especially like, in the world of social
media,
social
creating,
media, because it's a total mix of like personality, storytelling, and advertising is like a part of a lot of it. And so just making sure to know that like, go back to meaning and make it true.
Yeah. I mean, that's what, because look, the thing about Enough is my goal is not only do we create these amazing interactions that we just had, but also that we do raise a lot of money for mental health nonprofits. There's so many mental health organizations in the country that are struggling with the right financing. And so in order to do that, we need to sell a ton of bracelets. I have to go back to my TOMS days, right? Yeah. And so in order to sell a ton of bracelets, one of the biggest ways to do that is working with creators on social media, and so I've always believed that like whenever we used to sell at Nordstrom's and Tom shoes, I used to say, I want them to make as much money on a pair of Toms as a pair of Converse. So like, even though we're giving all these shoes away, I don't want the ways that the business is built to have to like sacrifice. And that's the same thing with our creators. Like we pay the same commissions, the same structure as any brand that might work with them. But the difference is all we're asking them to do is, if this is a message that really resonates with you and you feel this, like share your story. Like the rest will take care of itself. Like you don't need to be like pushing or selling the bracelets. It's like, I'm wearing this as a daily reminder. And by doing that, the right people will come to it, Right. And so it's really about, I think that's just so important. It's like, there's nothing wrong with working with social media and creators and doing these things. The thing is, when it really works well, is someone can be authentically sharing their story and making a living and putting a message that helps people.
Totally.
Like it's so fun to do it that way.
Yeah. And it should feel natural like that, as much as you're being thoughtful about it. The sound when you pop open a Go Brewing. Sorry, I'm just really thirsty right now. not to pause in the middle of a beautiful conversation that we're having, but when it hits, it hits. And for me, I've been drinking Go Brewing instead of soda, honestly, instead of beer, and regretfully sometimes instead of water, because I love it so much. For me, I've been drinking it because I don't want to feel crappy, which I feel when I drink beer. And also I like the taste, like genuinely would grab this over kombucha, grab this over often water, and grab this over soda, which is good for me. And you can get your Go Brewing too. You get this flavor, you get chilada. If you go to gobrewing.com/Alexi, you can get 15% off your order. Throw these in the fridge, go run 8 miles, come home, drink one of these. You'll be very happy you did. I don't feel like I need to convince you either. This is just, it's actually really, really good. I love it. I genuinely love it. This is, okay, it's blueberry and strawberry. That doesn't even do it justice. It's like, I would call this tart and fruit refreshing summer day. That's what they should call it. Try it yourself.
The founder of Spanx is a woman named Sarah Blakely, and she's become a good friend over the years, and she's been very financially successful. I think, one of the wealthiest women in America, self-made. And one day we were talking about money and like how to have the right relationship to money, And she said the best advice I've ever heard. She said, Blake, money should be really fun to make. You should have a lot of fun spending it once you make it. And you should have a lot of fun giving it away, doing charity. And she said, but the most important thing is it's always got to be fun.
It's really good.
It really is interesting, especially if someone has, had some financial success. Like you hear of a lot of people, money really making a mess of their lives.
Yeah.
And whether you've had financial success or you're just starting out in your career, like to just know that if you can approach it with fun, that it's never going to have that kind of negative effect that it can have on you. And it's great because I found even for myself, and she gave me this advice when I was doing a ton of philanthropy post TOMS. And I got to a place where I found myself kind of just writing a lot of checks to different charities that were very worthy, but I was just almost out of obligation. Like I didn't feel, I wasn't having fun with it. And so then like now I look at like enough, I'm having so much fun doing it. And we're also helping so many people. And so you could be doing the same thing, but it's the mindset that you have that makes all the difference in the world.
I have tried to, and tell me if this is like in line with this, like I've tried to assign more meaning to like, okay, I went and gave this talk. This is actually helping me like work on a deck on my house that I'm really excited about hanging out with my friends on. And like putting more like images to it has helped me feel more like aware of the money.
I like that.
And it's really helped me.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
And it makes me feel a little more like it's not more in control. It's just like more intentional and less nebulous.
Yeah.
And more, I guess more fun because I'm like, okay, this is that. Or like even groceries, like that can be fun if you think about like, what is funding the groceries? Is it,
totally
something that makes me like giggle because it's like kind of odd that like that is the thing.
Yeah.
And even though it is one pot of money, like I just try to have it all have some sort of meaning, almost like in a game board, so that money isn't just an idea.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the problem is that so many people think like they think about money like in how much you make and how much you have and like this accumulation thing. But it's really like when you think of it the way you've assigned value to it of like, okay, by doing this and getting these advertisers, I can go on this vacation.
Yeah.
Or I can help my friend or I can get, Or like. Tell me, you're excited. I love this.
Well, it's funny. I was on one episode of This Is Us and it was like a tiny little like cameo role.
Okay.
And it was so fun because it was like a huge set and blah, blah, blah. But like not a big part, right? But I get residuals.
Yes.
And so I'll get this check for like $66 randomly whenever it plays on TV.
Of course.
And I make sure that I spend that in really fun ways because I'm like, this doesn't exist.
They call that mailbox money. Have you heard of that before?
No.
Okay.
Because I don't have that much of that.
No, mailbox money is when you have done something in the past that you have some type of commission, residuals, whatever, and you've forgotten about it. Yeah. And all of a sudden it just shows up in your mailbox.
Yeah.
I've had a few mailbox monies.
It's so fun.
It's nice.
That's the most fun because you're like, well, I don't.
There's
no
like. It's just like great bonus. Yeah.
And I literally cannot predict it because it's like I don't know when this show is like airing again, or this episode of this show.
Sure.
But that's very fun. I like that advice a lot. It also really does help you not take money too seriously, because to play is more like a game,
Yeah.
and to make sure that in life we're not like, I don't know, like that we're a bit playful with life in general is probably like the right way, because money, we made it up anyway. It really matters, but we need to keep it in perspective too.
This whole thing is a beautiful play. They call that in India Leah, I think, and that the translation is it's just a big play.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like a play, like theater, or like playful?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like it's just enjoy it. Like it's going to happen so fast, and so we've got to make the most meaning out of it every day that we can.
Yeah.
And we have to really see it as like we're all just playing these different roles and hopefully putting on this beautiful play.
Yeah, that's cool. Yes, in the next scene of our play, we'll move on to more advice.
So here's one for entrepreneurs, and also I just think people in general. Do you know who Simon Sinek is?
Nope.
Okay, great. I had this idea when you talked about TED earlier, because Simon did a TED Talk that I think is, if you are starting a business or involved in a nonprofit, like if there's one TED Talk to watch, it's Simon's.
Great.
Like it is. I've played it to my staff literally countless times over the years of any business I'm running. Had a huge impact on how I built TOMS. But his is all about the why. And so what he explains, and he goes through history of some of the greatest movements and companies, I don't want to ruin the TED Talk, about why they really worked. And it always goes back to they were not selling features. People buy it because of the why you're doing it. They don't buy what you're doing, they buy why you're doing it. Mm-hmm. And I think I actually got that idea when you reflected back to me that you really felt like my why. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's why we had such a meaningful experience. Mm-hmm. And I think that if you're starting a company or you're working a nonprofit and you're trying to sell something to someone, or even if you're a creator, like people have to feel the why. Mm-hmm. And I think we've gotten sometimes so focused with algorithms and best practices and this and that to focus on like what's performing or what do people want or what's our new feature of our product or, why is our glitter better than others, but then if you can focus on the why, all that stuff will take care of itself. And this TED Talk, I mean, it is amazing. It's a short one. It's not that long. It's like early in his career. And I think it came out maybe 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. But find Simon Sinek's Why Talk, and it is going to bless you for sure.
That's the advice I needed today for my entrepreneurial journey.
It's great.
It's great, too, because it also seems to combat any, like, how to get through the tough moments if you're even internally, right? Because to get up and do it every day, regardless of what the world's going to think of it, takes a lot of like why energy. And
it's easier to stay on the why for a prolonged period of time than looking at metrics day in, day out.
Yeah.
Because nothing is built overnight. I mean, my sister is a great entrepreneur. Do you know the brand Aviator Nation? Mm-hmm. So that's my sister.
Oh, wow.
So she started that.
I was like, I went to a concert at that place in Malibu and jumped in the ocean afterwards.
It's amazing, right?
so much fun.
So literally that business is 20 years old. The first, say, 7 to 10 years, it was tiny. Mm-hmm. But she just stayed true to her thing. She's like, I'm going to make the most comfortable, best sweats, like her style. She built out every store. My parents helped design, hammer up the records on the wall. I mean, she never took investor money. She just was so focused on the pureness. And then it just exploded. I mean, now she's got 22 stores. It's one of the most valuable brands in the world. She owns 100% of it. I mean, just an amazing entrepreneur. But that's a good example of like, she was able to persevere all those years because she really just stayed focused on why she was doing it and what she believed she loved. And then eventually the rest of the world woke up and loved it too.
That's really cool. And it's kind of another side of the coin of you're not alone.
Yeah.
Like both with your tough feelings and with the things you really care about.
Yeah.
You're probably not alone.
Yeah.
And
totally.
You don't need everybody you don't need that much to be a highly successful business. You need enough people to feel that way.
But it's far less than you think. So here's another thing for your entrepreneurial venture.
Yeah.
So one of the greatest marketing minds in the world, his name's Seth Godin. Do you know Seth Godin?
Only the name.
Okay, great. So he's written amazing books. One of the best ones is The Purple Cow. Highly recommend that one. The reason it's called Purple Cow is like, imagine you're driving down the road, okay? and you see cows and cows and cows.
Mm-hmm.
No big deal. But if you drove by and you saw a purple freaking cow, what would you do? You'd stop, you'd take a picture of it, you'd look at it, you'd see if is this real? Like you'd be obsessed with the purple cow. So if you want to create a business or anything, a movement that works, you got to have a purple cow. It's got to be remarkable. So Seth Godin wrote another book, I think it was called Tribes maybe. But basically he did the math for us that really you only need 1,000 people.
Whoa.
That's all you need. If you have 1,000 people who absolutely love what you're doing and really believe in it and are willing to share it with their friends, you can start any movement in the world.
Wow, that's so awesome because I feel like the expectation would be that it would be a percentage, and that seems like infinity even if the percentage is small.
Yeah. No,
because
it's 1,000 people.
It's awesome to have that in your head.
He's an amazing guy. I've been lucky enough to have lunch with him one time. He was a big fan of TOMS in the early day, and but that's another thing. If you're a business person and you're young and you don't know who Seth Godin is, that's fine because he wrote a lot of books a long time ago. Like, get his books.
Great.
Like, those books helped me. I didn't go to school. I didn't go to college. Didn't go to business school. Like, his books and other books, like Richard Branson's book, Howard Schultz, who started Starbucks, his book, Mary Kay, Cosmetics, her book is incredible. Like, these were my teachers, like these books.
That's really cool.
And they're available. And you can
you can buy a book.
You just read it or listen to them. I mean, I listen to so many books now. It's so great.
I love satellite mentors like that, like the ones that now maybe you've had lunch with them, but when you first met them, it was through their books.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I didn't meet any of these people originally. It was always their books.
And did you always feel like the stuff you learned in books was like just yours immediately? Like, meaning, have you always had a very positive relationship with ingesting a book and saying, yep, that'll be mine now? Like the information.
One of the things I like about biographies is, it's the reason I wrote a book in 2010 about TOMS and social entrepreneurship. It's called Start Something That Matters. And the reason I wrote it and the reason I love biographies is that, like, once you've had success, you don't have insecurities the same way you might have earlier in your career. So you're willing to talk about all your failures.
Right.
You're willing to talk all the times you fucked up. And so we learn so much more from a business book from what didn't work than what we see publicly that's working. In some ways, like, hopefully people are learning more from me sharing about my suffering and how I got through it than they did when they were just seeing me on the cover of a magazine with TOMS shoes. And so I think that, to answer your question about I really do feel like when I read a book, especially a biography, a business biography, because that's, my trade in some ways, I do. I really take those stories and, okay, what did he learn from that? Why didn't that work? Have I experienced? I mean, I really do kind of look at it. And maybe it's because I didn't go to college. So that is kind of like when I read those books, I'm like studying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's how I'm sure they were intended to be taken in too. Like, nobody writes a book thinking like this is only for everybody, hopes it's for everybody.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think I just, I want to acknowledge that for people who might other themselves from other people's stories instead of like taking what's useful and truly like making it their own immediately, right? No matter how different the story might be, it's really about like learning how people think, right? Because you're probably reading these things about people with drastically different lives than yours, but they're navigating things and you're learning how they think.
Totally. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, who else is on your list?
I've got one more. Is my own advice.
Yes. Oh my God. Okay. So now we get advice from you.
It's something new I just discovered. It's like this little discovery. There's this organization. It's a nonprofit. I think you can make donations to it, called Future Self. It's a website. And what you do is you go and you write letters to your future self. And then they come back in the form of an email at a suggested time.
That you suggest.
Yeah, you can say 6 months, send me this.
Oh my
a year,
God.
send me this on my anniversary. Send me this on my birthday. Send me this. And it has been incredible in my journey because at different times in my journey, in my healing journey, I would, and this is some way of trying to manifest growth and healing. I'd say, okay, in 4 months, send me a letter checking in about these 3 things. Like, have I stayed accountable to my daily practice? Am I making, this special time for my kids? Like, whatever the things are. And it's different than like journaling and remembering to go look back, because this is just show up on your inbox. And what's so cool is I literally feel like God's involved in this organization because it shows up at the exact right time. Like I'll put like 4 months, and then turns out that day I was like really having a bunch of self-doubt, and I get this encouraging letter from myself. Like it's incredible. Like it's really cool.
That's really cool. It's like you sent an owl out that you can't stop. Like it's not, there's no intercepting it is what I mean.
Yeah.
Because they do it.
Totally. And I have one more.
Yes.
Just a little discovery. So I discovered this app the other day called Sonia, and it's called Emotional Support, basically online therapy with AI. And it was really interesting because I was at a mental health conference, and there was this guy speaking, and I have a standing therapy every Wednesday at 2:00, right? And so every Wednesday at 2:00, I have this time, which my therapist, which has been great and has helped me a ton. But what about all the time in between? And I just want to like talk to someone, but I don't want to like dump on my friends or something. And so I just tried it out the other day, and it was like pretty freaking amazing.
Really?
Like, I mean, like try it for 30 minutes. It's going to blow your mind.
Are you texting? Are you
No,
talking?
talking. And it talks right back. And it's in a beautiful voice. You can choose all different voices. And it's like, I know they say that 80% or 75% of ChatGPT questions are about like coaching or therapeutic or like anything around like our mental well-being. But this is like, I don't know what they've done, but they've somehow like made it like a therapist, and it remembers everything. So like I did a session the other day. I'd just been messing around with it for the past couple of weeks, and it asked me about something from like a week ago, checking in like a friend would. And I was just blown away. Like think how many people can't afford therapy.
Well, yeah, or your proximity to it. Like when I was in Mammoth when mine hit, there were no therapists there, so I had to move back to Oregon.
I remember in the book,
I had to move back to Oregon. It was so awful. And I like didn't want to be in Oregon, but it was like where the therapist was, and there was not a single one in Mammoth that could help me. And at the time there wasn't like the teleworld wasn't as developed, so it wasn't there.
No, it's I mean, that's, think about it. We went from you had to be in person to now Zoom and all that. That's all happened in the last 5-10 years.
Yeah.
So it's going to evolve. And and I don't think they're trying to they're saying that we replace your therapist. They're just saying like with Sonia, there's so much time in between maybe when you have a session that you're going to feel better. And that's what they call it, an emotional support of like just sharing things. And the other thing that's nice, it's like you're never embarrassed.
Right.
Like, I mean, that's sometimes even with my therapist, I kind of like, do I really want to talk about this?
Yeah, there's a bit of like a layer.
With Sonia, I'm like, there's no judgment. Like, I share everything sometimes, especially if I'm like having trouble with like a relationship. It's really great. Like, it's like if I'm like, okay, here's what's going on, with my ex, or here's what's going on, with this business situation. And like, I'll just talk for like 20 minutes, it seems like. And then it just like replays back to me, but with like, I know this about you and this. And anyways, that's my kind of last thing I can think about that has just had a big impact on me in such a short period of time.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Because I think people are probably finding it and don't know if there's, don't know what to think about it necessarily yet.
Yeah.
I have one last question just because like I am interested in like having I'm trying to next year be much more like really, really intentional with my time because I'm in like the only way I could describe it is like there's balls on tees and I'm like ready to like hit and stuff.
Are you a golfer?
No.
Just golf analogy just come natural.
I think I was thinking about softballs.
Okay.
But like, yeah, golf. Okay, balls on tees. Oh, they're tees, right?
Yeah, balls on tees.
Oh, yeah, tees. Okay, golf. And I've worked really hard to like set some stuff up. Like years, And I guess I was just wondering, is there anything, because I don't have a lot of like, on like business mentors, I think, but just like, is there anything about like anything that comes to mind as minute or big about like just like getting my shit done and like doing my life, whether it's like how I spend my time or like little habits or like anything that you've found helpful to you, like literally anything. I'm just like, I want to make sure I'm like taking my life seriously, Okay,
great. I have a good piece of advice.
Okay.
Yeah. And it came from my dad, actually.
Oh, great.
So we were playing golf on vacation. And at this point, I had started my first business, which was a laundry business. And so I was technically making money while I was on vacation as a 22-year-old, and he was losing money because the only way a surgeon makes money is by doing surgery.
Mm-hmm.
And so what he said was if he was to do it all over again, he would have chosen the path I was choosing, being an entrepreneur, because I can be on vacation and still make money. I can be sleeping and still making money. And so when you ask for kind of a life advice as you look at all the things that you're doing, this is great, but this is very time consuming. At the beginning of starting a business, with your glitter business, it's going to take a lot of time. But if you can build it to where it starts to work on the flywheel itself, then that can be a nice source of income, whether you're doing anything or not. And so I think one of the most important things in doing and starting a small business, and hopefully it becomes a big business, is don't make it too dependent on you. That's really important. Figure out the thing that only you can do, and then try to have outsource as much else. I learned that from Tim Ferriss too, with the 4-Hour Workweek. That book is amazing, by the way. Don't make it so dependent on you. So even with Enough now, it's my story that kicks it off. But I originally, I brought in other founding partners, like Kid Cudi is a partner, Kevin Love's a partner, so that other people can be out there spreading the word. So it's not just me doing it, because a business can only scale as much as you have the systems in place to do it. And if you want to have a quality life and not be working all the time, find out the thing you can do only and do that, but let others do everything else.
That's really great advice. It's really, really good advice. Because you could think it's the opposite,
Yeah.
Make sure you are indispensable, all that stuff. And it's actually make it derivative of your indispensability, but not dependent on you not going golfing with your dad on vacation.
Or going surf. For me, I'm a big surfer, and so I like to surf. And so I don't want my ability to not go surfing in the morning because I've got to be doing this and this. So it's really hard to do it first, but if you can do it in the beginning, it's easier when it gets bigger.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a foundational.
That's it. Yeah. It's a foundation.
Yeah. Right. And so that's really great. Cause I was going to be tell me to drink orange juice every morning. And you're like, no. We're going to take 2 steps back.
Yeah, totally.
So, oh my God, amazing. Well, I'm so grateful. This was again, it's like Halloween candy where everyone's going to be like, I want this one, I want this one, I want this one. And there was so much wisdom and truth. And also your story, I can't say enough about how awesome it is that you are just a mindful, real, awake person crafting your life, but also kind of observing your life at the same time. That, I feel like there's people who just are so maybe one or the other. And I think that is the dream for any of us, is to feel agency and then feel vulnerability at the same time. So thank you. And I'm so glad to be in your life and you in mine.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Amazing. If you're enjoying Mentor Buffet, follow Voicing Change for more inspirational and truly life-affirming content from shows like Soul Boom, The Proof, Feel Better, Live More, and the Rich Roll podcast. Just go to voicingchange.media. That's voicingchange.media for a beautiful selection of productive and positive shows.